Hello, dear listeners and viewers. Welcome to the latest episode of One Nation Under Whiskey. This is our intermediary series. This is an extra episode. And this lady that you can see in this other screen here is Sarita Rainey. And Sarita Rainey, you are the nation. And thank you so much for joining us today to talk about the nation, Single Cask, of course, your journey, yourself. These are exciting little conversations we're having. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to this, Jason.
And I was so excited to introduce you. I didn't introduce myself. I remain Jason Neil Patrick Harris Johnston Yellen at your service in the One Nation Under Whiskey world. So before we get into what's in each of our glasses, and I believe we have different things today, I'm curious, Sarita, we've been talking this year, 15 years of Single Cask Nation, 2011. Assuming you were old enough, what was happening? Given that you're drinking today, I really hope you were old enough. But what was going on in Sarita's life in 2011?
2011 was a kind of fallow period, I would say, in my whiskey journey.
Okay.
Whiskey's been my drink since the late 90s. But
Gosh, okay.
In 2011... I was probably drinking more wine than spirits. Mm-hmm. And I probably had about 5 bottles of whiskey. I probably had a Bushmills, a Black Bush. It was probably all Irish, actually, at the time.
Okay. Was that partly that flavor profile from your more favorite wine or your more ready go-to on the wine side? Was there a quality in Irish that really resonated for you?
Irish is where it started for me, and I didn't broaden out until a bit later. And I associated Scotch with what my dad drank. And at the time, that was less cool than it became later. But my journey into whiskey as anything other than something that was in cocktails started when I was studying in Northern Ireland. So it started with like Bushmills distillery tours. And so like Bushmills and Powers Gold label became like the thing that I usually had. And then it was later that I started really exploring.
Do you, so I had this conversation with somebody just the other day. One of the things we're trying to do with Single Cask Nation is Joshua and I, when we put out something from Spirit of Collaboration, there's a relationship there. There's an understanding of people. There's an understanding of a distillery there. And that's what we're trying to communicate to the nation at large. For you with this love of Irish and this connection to time spent studying there, is there a sense when you open that bottle back in America that it connects you back to your time spent over there?
Absolutely. And whiskey and as my journey has progressed, like there's a sense memory thing to it, like with the Irish, but also like sometimes when I'm taking like whiskey notes, there will be something that like in a totally new whiskey triggers a sense memory of something completely different. But like I very much associate either I'm associated with the moment when I first had that dram, or it's something in usually the aroma, usually the nose of the whiskey that is just taking me back to a special place.
It's exactly what we talk about sometimes when we pull up an Isla, right? A nice smoky Isla. And it's like, this is like walking the shoreline at Port Ellen. And I can smell the barley in the air, and I can smell the distillery in the air, but I'm also getting that coastal sea breeze blowing across my face and that salt starting to dry on my lips. Is there a thing in particular that always connects you back, that flavor memory that connects you back to your time in Ireland? Is there something that always delivers?
Not necessarily, or not that I'm conscious of. Not that I'm conscious of, I'll put it like that. But there are also like tastes that I don't go back to because they've pulled me out of the present. Like Powers Gold was like very much the thing that I drank in those summers. Like it wasn't the bottle that, like the Bushmills was the bottle that I would have if I was like going to pour a neat dram. The Powers was what I would buy a small bottle of to have for the parties that weekend, so that I would always have, because I've never been much of a beer drinker. And one of the reasons I got into whiskey was that I could nurse a drink for a long time and not be pressured to overindulge in things that I didn't enjoy as much. So I'd have a small bottle of Powers, and that would be my thing for the night or for the weekend. And so I haven't really revisited that as much, because it sort of takes me back to being in my early 20s, and there are lovely memories associated with it, but also I'm not there anymore.
That's brilliant. That's so good. And now you keep saying small bottle. Are you talking a mini? Are you talking a 200? I
think it was a 200.
A thing over there, you know?
I mean, it's been like I said, it was the late 90s, so it's been a hot second. I think they were 200s. Right. I don't think they were 375s. Okay. Yeah, but no, it wasn't the minis. It was definitely like, larger than a hip flask.
Well, the reason I was asking is sometimes in Scotland we'll say, I'm going out for a wee pint, right? And to put wee with
and
pint is to make no sense of it. And so when you're mentioning a wee bottle, like it was just a wee bottle, like sometimes that can still be a full bottle, but it was just a wee bottle.
Just a wee bottle, just a
dram. So I was curious about that aspect. So I wanted to get to the part, I mentioned this in an episode of One Nation Under Whiskey. I can't remember when I did it, but I talked about presenting to the Women Who Whiskey group at Jack Rose back in February. Mm-hmm. And I had a moment there where I don't even know how it came up, but it was one of those moments of, from the front row, like, you're Sarita? You're Sarita? And paused kind of whatever I was saying in the moment to ask if it would be okay to hug, and you very generously said yes. And we had a Single Cask Nation hug at a Single Cask Nation tasting. And the part I wanted to add on for today's conversation was I felt like, not if I'd gotten to know you quite, but you'd become very recognizable as somebody in the Zoom tasting who always had something smart to say and always had a flavor note that always gave me a moment of, like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. That's good. So to get to seemingly know somebody through a series of Zoom tastings, to then just be floored that you were sitting right in front of me at a tasting, and before I make the connective tissue, on what I'm going to say next here, I'm curious for you, and I don't think I've taken a moment to ask you this, which is classic middle-aged white male of me, but what was that like from your side when you're sitting there and then all of a sudden a tasting has been paused and you're hugging a tall white Scotsman?
No, it was a really lovely moment for me. Like it was a lot of fun, and it was, I have done a number, I don't know how many, of virtual tastings with you over many years, a couple through Women Who Whiskey and several through Single Cask Nation. But I don't necessarily consider myself memorable. So it was really, really lovely. It was
awesome.
It was a fun moment, and it was delightful. There was something that night that I made a tasting note, and you were like, oh, that's totally in my tasting notes. That's totally how I described it. And I was like, I have won the evening. It was great.
Which is so funny because we keep offering tasting notes and saying, like, this isn't in a manual, or these aren't official, or if you don't get these, you are a loser. They're always like the beginning of a conversation. But there's definitely that moment. I've definitely done it with other, industry people for whom I'm like, I got that note. Like, I got that note that they said, like, nice.
It feels like victory.
It's funny how we measure ourselves across these, imagined standards. But the reason I wanted to bring this up and to frame it is because when I'd written an email to you asking, would you be a guest on one of our You Are the Nation episodes? Because you mean so much to me from the Zoom tastings, and because of what I'm saying about, hearing what you mention in these tastings, and then of course we had the bonus of meeting in February. But I'm going to quote what you wrote back to me, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
So you wrote back, and this was part of a larger email, but this is the part
Yeah.
I took out of it. You said, "That sounds fun, though I don't know that I feel particularly qualified to hold forth." And then this is the clincher for me. "I definitely have less tasting experience than many of the folks in Nation tastings. I'm just passionate about not letting that keep me from learning and enjoying and exploring." I thought that was the $1,000,000 sentence in there. I'm just passionate about not letting that keep me from learning and enjoying and exploring. That, Sarita, is the Nation. That's absolutely it. And I know in this series we're pulling people who are OGs from 2011, and we're pulling people we've met along the way in the 2014s to 2015s. You know how these things move around, and I know you're quote unquote a newer member, where I think at this point newer is half a decade.
Yeah, it's somewhere
Pandemic
around 5 or
time.
6. Yeah.
Again, it's not exactly a hot minute ago, right? So for me, you're established, but that type of statement is why you resonate for me, and that willingness to say, "I'm rolling up my sleeves and I'm a part of this." So I'm curious, as we get into just a little bit of a tasting, and I'm curious to know, what's your first pour that you've got in front of you? Why is that your first pour in front of you? And tell us the story, if there is a story surrounding this.
So my first pour is the Black's Boat Bridge 12,
Okay.
which was part of, I believe it was the sherry cask finish tasting that you guys did last summer.
Ah, yes,
Last
yes.
summer or early fall. And it was my favorite of that. I bought a few bottles after I did a couple of those tastings, and I bought several bottles, and it was
Cheers.
my favorite coming out of that. And it's also one that I find a nice sipper. The second one I've poured, I've added a little water to, but this one I like neat.
Ah, okay. What's the strength
And I'll
on
let
that
you
particular
know.
bottle?
I'll
Look
let
at
you see.
that retro Single Cask Nation glass.
Gotta represent. What is the strength on this? This is 62.9%. So, I mean, it's not hurt by a little water, but I do find it sippable.
Well, and that's a big aspect of it for myself and Joshua, and Jess has a slightly different take on it over in the UK. But for us, we get cask samples, and you maybe get a predicted ABV, you maybe get an anticipated ABV, but the thing for us is, how is this drinking? And virtually every, we've talked about it on occasion, aside from there's maybe regulations that mean we need to actually dilute it or for whatever reason, but as we sample from cask, that's what we want going into the bottle. So when we find out afterwards that that whiskey that drank so well at cask strength is a number like that, we're kind of
Yeah.
like, oh. And in America, I feel like we're very lucky. The Americans who are in the Nation, they get that 62 is fun, 64 is fun. We've got a Balcones that was released. This episode drops on the Wednesday, which would be the 29th. So this episode drops July 29. July 28, we released a Balcones at 67% alcohol. And it drinks at that strength. So I love that you're saying that's the one for you, that's the sipper. That's the one that as you pour it.
I mean, it may give me a hiccup or two, but
For me, it's always the peat hiccups. I am curious for you, Given what you've talked about, those Irish bottles that you were cutting your teeth on, and those were the Irish bottles that you had on your shelf, given that those are not coming in at cask strength, they're maybe not coming in at 40, maybe they are, but they're probably coming in at 43s. I think sometimes the Powers maybe even comes in at 45. I'm going from memory here, so if I'm wrong, please tell me. What was that journey like for you, from wine days to the low 40s to the cask strengths?
That is where the pandemic came in handy, because I was active in Women Who Whiskey before the pandemic, but I really became active. I'd been following the group for a while, but I became active in 2018, 2019. So the early pandemic and a Women Who Whiskey event is how I first met you. You were doing a virtual tasting. We did a lot of virtual events, and
Right.
so the virtual tastings and the drinking from your home just made that transition much easier, because, I'm at home. If something hits me a little differently, I don't have to worry that I'm going to do anything silly and trip over my own feet, and I can enjoy the experience. But it also, I think, to be a little more serious, the moving into
You've
the
met
high
us before,
proofs.
right?
I said a little more serious.
You're crushing it.
I would say going into the higher proofs was a thing that helped me become more comfortable with the idea that drink it how you like it. Because a lot of the things that are, yes, brought down to a mid 40s, it's not like they're very, very sippable, neat, and they're also great in a cocktail. And the stuff that is higher proof, that's where I started to go. That's what made me start really exploring, add a drop of water and see what it does to it. And also, is this something I want over one chunk of ice? Or is this something I want to dilute with a little water? And what's the thing that makes this a happy thing? And sort of exploring how the flavor profiles change along the way until I find how I like to enjoy it. Honestly, that sort of exploration kind of started as a result of high ABV situations where you're like, well, I'm not gonna, I'm loving the flavor, but this would knock me out if I just drank this straight. So let's figure out where we're comfortable.
Have you encountered a cask strength that you've taken farther and farther and farther down, or one that you've found does better for you as the ice softens it?
Ironically, my second pour, which is the Backwoods 3, is a lower ABV.
Bless you, Sarita. Bless you.
It's only at 59.9, but that's the one that for me has gone from a drop to a little bit to. I mean, it's not like I'm heavily watering it down, but it's definitely looking lighter in the glass than it does in the bottle because I've added a more than a splash of water to it.
Oh, that's great. I look forward to coming back around to that one in just a minute. On the black sport, is there a key note to it? Is there a key presence to it that you're kind of like, this again, just like we were saying about the Irish and maybe some of the sense memories, is there a flavor to that black sport bridge that you're like, I'm back again. I'm back to this one.
There's a texture, I'd say, to it.
Thank you.
It's got I don't usually use oily to describe the nose of something, and I do for this one. And it's also, I mean, I'm a sucker for a sherry cask finish. So everything that came from that tasting, I was like, antenna up. But there's something almost savory about this one. And a really nice mouthfeel. And that's probably why I enjoy it as a neat pour, is probably that mouthfeel. Because that's certainly something where water has a huge impact.
Right. And definitely something Josh and I talk about all the time, being texture guys. And we want that. I love that you said that unprompted a moment ago. even the nose on that Black Spoke Bridge for you has a texture, happens to be oily for you. And we talk about that. We talk about nasal texture, where some people look at you like you've lost your ever-loving mind. And you're like,
I mean, yeah, it's
smell
not
the presence.
often. Yeah, it's not all like I'm a note taker. I have a little notebook. I have a journal that is my whole life is in, and it always has pages for whiskey tasting. But then I have like a little notebook that's what I bring with me places. I mean, just whatever little notebook. And so I'm always scratching notes in tastings, and it's just a memory aid for me. But I'm making notes on the color profile, the legs, the nose, and then the do I love it? Do I hate it? And I'm also taking education and curiosity and learning is like so much a part of this journey for me. Like I'm very serious about that. Like literally the one time I was taking notes on my phone, I felt terrible because I was like, the speaker thinks I'm the rude person who won't get off their phone. And it was like, I just forgot my notebook. So I was like but like the history of things and the origins of things. And I love Single Cask Nation bottles because there's so much information on them. But not everybody does that. And so like, in the tasting events for various brands, like understanding how things are sourced and all of that, like I care about all of that. And so I'm always like taking notes and thinking about it. And I kind of went back to my recent notes when I knew we were going to do this. And my notes around aroma do not normally include a texture. And this one, that's how much it stood out to me.
Oh no, that makes me so happy. I also think it's hilarious in what you're saying, where if you're a tasting, writing with a pen in a notebook, you're serious. But if you're putting it into notes on your phone, well, you could be setting up the next thing that's happening after this tasting. You could be texting like, listen to this jamulk. You could be texting somebody on the other side of the room, like,
Right.
My gosh,
Right.
this Scots guy can talk.
Right. Yeah, I was very fully present in the moment, but he did not know that, and I felt so bad about it because I was like, "Ooh, oops."
Just as we're sipping away here, for me actually, because I'm out traveling and my time away from home continues. I'm in my sister-in-law and her family's house in San Diego here. I was just in my mother-in-law's house in San Diego. By the time people hear or view this interview, I'll be in Idaho. I'll actually be in the wilderness in Idaho. So hope people are enjoying this. But I'm traveling with the July 28 releases. And so, and this isn't a hashtag humble brag. It's because I had small sample bottles that I could pack into my rucksack and take them with me. So I'm actually enjoying our Clear Creek whiskey from a barley, 100% barley mash, so which is the distilled beer, which I'm loving as a lover of light whiskies. And it is funny that you walk in today talking Irish, from the get-go, where lighter, brighter, fruit-forward
Fruity, sure.
flavors, right? But we're coming in, and I don't have my notes to hand here. I'm just sitting having a very fun chat with you. But this is coming in somewhere around 63% alcohol, and it just drinks. It's Turkish delight. It's floral in a way we haven't always leaned into floral, and such a special little pour. So very happy to be enjoying this as we're sitting here chatting away. And again, it's a big texture, lovely big texture too. So cheers to you and cheers to the nation. We're not going anywhere.
To the nation.
This is just, we've got pours. Cheers. Oh, and actually, I can just see it coming through here. The old Whiskey Jubilee retro glass for me.
Nice.
I don't know.
Nice.
You may have seen these out and about at tastings, but people often have things like this. And then they put, I'm sorry if you're listening right now, I'm holding what looks like a barrel that would go under a St. Bernard's chin if you were in the Alps and needed rescuing with barley. But it just comes like this, and people pop their Glencairns in it. My kid 3D printed this for me. And so my glass
Brilliant.
goes in here, and then I keep it secure with the bubble wrap.
Survives the trip.
And then I have a screw top and that goes into my backpack, and that's what goes into the wilderness with me.
Brilliant. I love it.
And it just so happens to be the retro whiskey Jubilee glass that was in my little travel cask here. Isn't that great?
Nice.
I love it.
Same glass I have, just a different logo.
Exactly.
Right?
The old spade dram is what this is. So there we go.
I love this glassware.
So I'm curious for you, Sarita. I know we talk about the and we probably, with an eye on the clock, we probably should move into our second pours in a minute. But I'm enjoying this. We're having a wee chat. I'm curious. Did you hear about Single Cask Nation through Women Who Whiskey?
I did.
You hadn't heard about it before, other circles, time at Jack Rose, or anything like that.
No, I would say a lot of my whiskey education has come from from Women Who Whiskey, and then that has been what has then led me to explore, and then to find the Single Malt Whiskey Society, and to find the Drammers Club, and to find you guys, and to find various groups. You guys are definitely other than Women Who Whiskey, you guys are definitely the group I'm in the most active in.
Oh, brilliant!
And in large part, that's because you and Joshua have created a community that is lovely and inviting and inclusive.
Awesome.
And the tastings are always a lot of fun, both in terms of what, the liquid and also the people. And so that's just joyous.
Right. Isn't it great getting to see other members of the nation when you're in these tastings?
Absolutely.
That was kind of part of this series for us. Was who are those people that show up, and who are those names that forever get mentioned? And so, starting with Michael Nolan in this series out in Chicago, who couldn't be more excited about the Chicago Jubilee in October 15, and then Frederick Keeter, who's East Coast, who has been a terrific supporter along the way. Sarita Rainey out in LA over here, it's so cool having these overlaps and getting to see people on our journeys.
West Coast represent.
You're the first West Coaster we've had on this series. All right, I'm gonna move into the second pour here, and
I will do the same.
I'm really eager, and again, right, there's no planning here. This is just show up, have a couple of drams, have a conversation. The fact that you pulled the backwoods makes me so incredibly happy, and I'm curious for you. What's your takeaway with the backwoods? What's your reason for pulling it and wanting to have that be part of today?
I mean, it's so fascinating to me. This is one that I bought. I mean, it's a several years old bottle. It was after my first or second Single Cask Nation tasting. It was probably the same time I bought these glasses. And it's different from most of what I drink, and that's why I poured it today, because I was sort of going back through all of my bottles in preparation, and one of the reasons why I love this journey is that I learn that I enjoy more kinds of things than I think that I do. And this one fascinates me because, like, the nose kind of reminds me of a tequila. And I'm not particularly, I don't know. I don't know what I'm picking up. I just, when I smell it, I don't feel, it's something, I don't know what I'm getting. And I don't know if it's because it's if it's something about the Australian casks that's just giving me a different scent profile, but like, I feel like it feels like a tequila to me. And then when I'm just looking down at my notes. I literally wrote earlier this week when I was retasting, bit of ashtray on the finish, but not a bad thing.
Yeah.
And
it's drying.
But it's fascinating to me because when I read Whiskey Advocate and I love the tasting notes, but I'm always hints of cigar, what or what it tastes like dirt. Why is that a good thing? But this is ashtray and yet delicious. And I was like, that's just too much fun. I had to pour it out.
I'm curious because I don't have the bottle to hand. On the flavometer there, if you've got the bottle to hand, what does earthy show on the backwoods?
Earthy is at a 6, so not that
Right.
high. Medium. Nothing is terribly high. Rich is the highest at a 7, and then
Right.
earthy and oaky are at a 6, and everything else is 5
Okay.
or less.
See, that's the place for us where we have it just kind of eking a nose ahead, right? Sometimes the flavometer is able to show balance. Sometimes the flavometer will show you high notes. Sometimes the flavometer will show you where things calm down a little bit. The Clear Creek that I just had there, the floral is the big note on the flavometer. And
Makes sense.
that's hey, just so you know, just so you're walking in here, you know what you're getting. And so for you with those notes like the ashy, this, obviously smoky's a bit different, but earthy, right?
Yeah.
And so 6 on earthy is not a place we often go in the flavometer. Like
Yeah.
that's really showing that it's gone up here a bit, and take note of that. And for me, so I was just on My Crack in LA. It's an online radio show. That was Thursday afternoon's interview. KRAK, where the riff is on Irish, the crack, right? CRAIC, where
Yes, of course.
you go have a good time. You go sit with your community. You tell stories. You have a wee dram. Sometimes you open a wee bottle, or you have a wee pint. And so when we were on there, Seabass had actually brought along the backwoods. So our welcome dram on Thursday for the interview was backwoods, completely unprompted. And again, it's that there's this cherry cordial note that has we always call them like cherry liqueurs, right? We got a cherry liqueur that's got the chocolate, but then it's got a dusting of cocoa powder on it. And that to me is the dry quality of the backwoods. That's the landing of that particular plane. And I don't know what the website, we just, for the very first time, added low quantity stock on the website, where you can actually now go surf the website and see where things are sitting. We must be down to maybe 3 6-packs of the backwoods, and I think that was bottled summer of 2021, certainly some point of 2021. So it's been on the website for a long time at I think $95. But boy, does it make me incredibly happy.
It's a beautiful pour, but like an unusual flavor profile for me to call a beautiful pour, and just sort of a marker of like how zigzaggy and fun my journey with whiskey has been, because I came into things through Irish, and I came into things through like floral and also sweet, and discovering that I also like rye. Sometimes high rye is too spicy for me. Sometimes I absolutely love rye, but like,
okay,
it was an ongoing joke with myself and Kim O'Hannison from Women Who Whiskey Los Angeles for years that like she was convinced she was going to convert me to peat, because I came into the club being like, oh, I'm down to explore, but I'm not a peat girl. Okay. And through tastings, I learned, okay, no, I'm a Highland peat girl. I'm not necessarily an Isla peat girl, because I like the notes. But then also, like, my favorite, I recently bottle killed a Bruichladdich Isla Barley 2013. Like, and that was a bottle. That was a
cracking pour.
That's a gorgeous pour. I absolutely loved it. So like, there are no rules on what it's going to turn out I like. And there's also like, I haven't pulled the trigger on the purchase, but like Octomore 14.2, I absolutely love. There are moments where peat is amazing.
So here's the thing that may connect the dots for you. With those Bruichladdich, you're still dealing with Highland peat. So even as you're ramping up the quantity of, ppms happening in there, you're still getting your Highland peat profile. You haven't crossed over to the Isla peat, but
even though it's Isla barley,
exactly, it's Isla barley that's harvested, taken to the mainland, peated in Inverness,
gotcha,
and then brought back to the distillery, which in terms of sustainability is complicated, but we're now in a place where you can't get, even if you could get into Diageo maltings, they're not taking on contracts. So aside from whatever happened to Bruichladdich back in the day, you would still have to take it off the island or process it yourself. It's very complicated and trying. So, no, I'm really glad you like that Isla Barley 2013. That is
Beautiful pour.
really good. Yeah,
Really, really enjoyed that bottle.
In my glass here, it's funny actually, the way we just went here, given what you're saying about the backwoods, I've got the High Wire Jimmy Red Bourbon in my glass, and this brings that dedicated cinnamon profile. And I would argue that's what's happening in backwoods with the earthy and the pronounced chocolate or cocoa note happening in there. I think there's a similar pronounced note happening with the High Wire. Cinnamon is on the nose, the palate, the finish, and it goes from warm cinnamon to cinnamon sticks back to warm cinnamon again. And
Fascinating.
I think this is an absolutely cracking cask, and whereas the Clear Creek is at launch is $60, the High Wire at launch is $100, but it puts it really close to that backwoods that we put up for $95.
And that much cinnamon is fascinating. I really want to try that because, like, I mean, you in the real world in which we're talking about actual cinnamon and not a cinnamon flavor profile, cinnamon's very drying. Like, so is it having that drying impact here?
Absolutely, which is for me that crossover point between what you've got going on with the backwoods and what I've got going on with the High Wire. I think those two have something in common.
Fascinating.
And after just tasting the backwoods on Thursday and then tasting this, here we're sitting here on a Friday, Saturday. Like it's, oh gosh, that's good. So yeah, the release is in the future, but the dropping of this episode is in the past. And so I don't know how sales did. I don't know who grabbed what. I was thinking before we started the recording today, a couple of years ago, we put out an MGP bourbon, a wheater bourbon, but it had smoke on it. And we've no idea where the smoke came from. And that's the bottle that sold out in 4 hours. And that was the one people were clamoring for. And I'm always curious when we do another launch, what's the one that the nation will surprise me with? What's the one that people clamor for? It's the Clear Creek, the distilled beer. It's the High Wire bourbon. It's the Rocktown bourbon. It's the Smooth Ambler bourbon. And then it's a couple of the American single malts. I'm looking at my samples over here. Thumbs up to you too. The Boulder Spirits, which is peated, and the Balcones, which is peated. And both of those are in new charred oak. So a really wonderful release. So dare I ask, and I'm not sitting here to lead the witness, but are there any of the six that you've got an eye on, Sarita, given that the launch is happening in the future?
Yeah, I'm interested. I wanna do a little reading on your first pour because that sounded very, very interesting to me in particular, and I also really loved the interview with Alistair. So I've got my eye on that one.
Cheers. If you haven't had a chance, the Clear Creek interview and tasting with Caitlin Bartlemy that dropped as an extra, she is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I would highly recommend that to you. If you haven't had a chance to hear it, and anyone listening to this, go back and listen to that as well, because she really gives, how did this even come to be? Joshua, in putting together the bundles, I'm not spoiling any surprises because it's already happened. We have a bundle that is 2 malts and a maniac, and the Clear Creek is the maniac. Really cracking. I love it. Really cracking.
I love it.
Well, listen, Sarita, we're going to get out of here. We kept it close to a tight 35, but just sitting here, dramming with you, chilling with you, this is exactly why I extended the invitation to come on here. And I will reiterate, he says, Sarita Rainey, you are the nation, and we love having you here. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Jason. It's been a delight.
Can't wait to see you in a future Zoom. There will be, not to again get the cart before the horse, but there will be some future SCN Zooms. And you better believe you will be getting a gold embossed invitation to come join us in those.
Can't wait.
Awesome. Thanks ever so much. I will say cheers to you, Sarita. I look forward to our paths crossing the next time.
Absolutely. Slán Siva.
Slán indeed. Cheers.